Welcome to another George K Online tutorial. I'm going to be showing you guys how to achieve this bullet dynamics system brick wall destruction in Lightwave using the new bullet dynamic system. And as you can see, we have a little. I'm just going to open up. Sorry, I'm going to open up in QuickTime to scrub. A little capsule bullet looking object hitting two brick walls. Of course, this isn't anything graphically appealing, but the dynamics and our actual physics engine is being displayed, and I want to show you guys how easy it is to achieve this look, and you can start using it to any animation, whether it's film, messing around, anything you guys do in Lightwave. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Modeler here, and the first thing that I'm going to be doing is making our one brick. So I want to click on box, hit the N tool to bring up the numerics tab. I'm going to go ahead and make our brick. Brick's probably about 1 foot, or sorry, 1 foot, not 1 inch. Height, I guess it'll be, I don't know, 0.3 feet, roughly, I guess. And for the depth, let's go zero point 0.2 feet or zero point 0.3 feet. I never actually did the research of an exact brick's dimensions, but let's just go back to our width here and make this, I don't know, 280, give or take. Sure. Okay, I mean, that's a brick. So what I like to do is once I have my brick size is the way I make my grout is actually very easy. I just go to the multiply tab, I round, and whoop, wow. Let's slam that all the way down. Sorry about that. And let's just do, oh, I don't know. Let's go 5 millimeter on the inset right there, and just a few rounding polygons. We don't want anything too crazy here because I'm going to be using an array, and I'm just on a laptop, so I don't want anything crazy as far as processing power goes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the Q key to bring up our surface panel, and I'm going to call this layer or this all these polygons uh, inner. Go ahead and maybe make it an off-white manually, and I'll leave smoothing off for now. And I'm going to hit space to change the modes here and go to the polygon mode and select the polygon. Holding shift, I'm going to select the front and back polygon of the face of the brick and hit Q again, and we're going to assign a surface to these polygons called brick. And for OpenGL's sake, I'll make that brown to have a nice visual representation. Go ahead and unselect those polygons. Next thing I'll do, you know what, this brick looks a little bit too wide, so I'll just hit H there just to size that down. Okay, I mean that looks like a brick. So I'm going to go ahead and start my little wall building here. I'll show you guys how easy it is to achieve it. So I'm going to go to multiply and array, and on my x-axis I want to make about, oh, I don't know, 14 of these bad boys, and I'm going to hit OK. So now they're side by side by side by side by side on the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead press F2 just to center that up on the origin. I'm going to hit Command C, go to layer 2, press Command V, and I'm going to go hit T for the move tool, and I want to size up, or sorry, move that bottom layer brick right up against the base of our top bricks here. And I'm going to go ahead and move it over from the top axis. Basically trying to achieve that offset brick look. One's here, one's half of that one, and then so on and so forth. So once I have that, I'm going to select both layers, hit Command X, go back to the first layer, and Command V to get both of them in one layer. I'm going to go ahead now and hit Array once again. And this time I'm not going to do the x-axis, I'm going to keep that at 0 or 1. And on the y, I'm going to make about I'll say 8 of these. And there you go. I mean, that's a, that's a small brick wall there. Nothing crazy. And we're going to go ahead and save this now as a brick wall. Don't put it on your desktop. I just saved it on my desktop. Bad practice. And I'm going to go into layer 2 now, and I'm going to create a ball. I'm going to go hit N, and I'm going to go to tessellated ball, and I'm going to make this 0.2 meters by 0.2 meters by 0.2 meters. Okay, that's fine. Actually, I'll just go 0.1 meters, 0.1 meters, 0.1 meter. Make it smaller. I should have made more bricks, but it's okay. We're going to go ahead now and hit the F7 for our layers panel and expand that. And for this layer, I'm going to call it brick wall. And for a second layer, I'm going to call it bullet. Or, you know what, I'm not going to call it bullet because just because we're using a bullet system doesn't mean everything has to be a bullet. So I'm just going to call it ball. And I'm going to hit OK. And that's it for modeler. I mean, everything else happens in layout. So I'm going to go ahead F2, send out all of our objects up in the origin, and I'll see you guys in layout. So in layout, the first thing I usually do if I'm doing something like this is I like putting my objects right on that y-axis. And I'm going to go ahead and move our sphere. Sorry, I pressed 3 for our right view. And I'm going to go ahead and put that right on the axis there. Just viewing it out. And I'm going to go ahead and go modeling tools, geometry, and I'm going to create a ground plane of 10 meters by 10 meters. You know what, let's crank this up to 40 meters by 40 meters. And let's give this some segments. Let's give 10 and 10. And we're going to go ahead and OK. And let's go back to perspective view by hitting 4. And we have our floor now, I guess you can call it that. Ground plane floor. And now we're going to go ahead and assign some rules. So I'm going to click our ground plane here, go to the effects tab, and we're going to make this a static body. So that's not going to move. And I'm going to go ahead and click our sphere here, our bullet, and I'm going to go ahead and assign a kinematic body to it. And our brick wall layer, I'm going to go ahead and select a parts body. Now, right away, we're going to see some simulation stuff happening, but this is going to all be wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and click our last frame of the timeline here. It's going to simulate some dynamics, but it's going to really be off to what we want. And I'm going to be showing you guys how to achieve a nice realistic look of an impact of bricks. So go ahead and let that simulate. Again, I record my tutorials on a MacBook Pro, which I do not recommend for any 3D, well, at least any crazy 3D stuff or rendering. It's great for tutorials. So let's just let that finish there. And you see our last frame, and that's what we have of our last frame. So boom, it just goes, nothing's even hitting it, it's just falling like a bricks that aren't connected. They're just parts, they're just falling. And if we go here to the world properties, we see why they're falling, because by default, if any objects assign a parts body rule to it, it's going to automatically take in minus 9.8 meters of y gravity, which is pretty realistic for Earth gravity. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and select our brick wall and make this a box shape. I also want to make our glue strength for bricks, let's say about let's go 70 for now. And our break angle, I want to slam it right down to 1. And our braking distance, I'll leave at 10 millimeters. For friction, I like going 100%. And bounciness, I like going 0 for bricks. And linear damping, 0. And, sorry. 0 and 0. And that's it basically for our brick wall. Oh, one more thing. Under the activations tab, we're going to want to make sure that it's start sleeping for the initial activation. And that's going to take away our automatic dropping once we scan through our timeline. As you can see before with start active, it automatically used that minus 9.8 meters on the y-axis. So now this parts body is waiting for something to hit it to activate, which is exactly why we have our little sphere here. So I'm just going to go ahead and shuttle to our last frame at 120 frames, and I'm going to go ahead and go to our top view here, and I'm going to just slam it on that z-axis and just keep going so it doesn't stop. And I'm going to go ahead back to perspective by hitting F4, or sorry, by hitting 4. And let's just go ahead and see what that gave us. So, you know what? Lots of tweaking still to do here, but I mean, that gave us a pretty good, well, at least a lot better look. As you can see here, we're getting like a little matrix effect, which is actually a great effect to use if you're going to be doing those kind of like two big objects hitting each other, and you want that little warp effect, like the Matrix used when those two trucks collided on the highway. This is literally probably what they use. So as you can see, our bricks kind of look bendy. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's go back to the item properties here. On the brick wall, I'm gonna make our glue strength 60%, and actually let's go 50% on the glue strength. That should give us a better. Let's go 90 for our friction, and let's actually raise our braking angle to 6. See what that gives us. It looks even more bendy. Let's go down to 0 and see what happens. Definitely looks a lot more realer. And I mean, that's a pretty good. I mean, that's basically what would happen if that brick wall was getting hit by a ball. Great. I'm gonna go ahead and raise our glue strength, maybe up to 55. And I want to make my ball, back to the shape, a sphere. Let's see what that gives us. A little bit of a difference. Okay, great. So go back to perspective view. Let's go to the camera view here. By pressing 6, and let's go right up to our bricks here. Camera's way back here. Let's move this right up there. And let's go hit Shift C, P for properties of the camera, 1280. Let's go 1280 by 720. I want, let's go maybe 12 samples. And I like to use the box sharp reconstruction filter. I'll just oversample a little bit. I'll turn on radiosity for now, and I'll leave them at default settings. I'm going to go to our light and our scene, hit P. I'm going to take off effect diffuse. In window, I'm going to go to backdrop options, and let's give this a pure white backdrop. And let's just go ahead and render this out. Give us a nice little dull render of nothingness, basically. And I'm going to go ahead and just start texturing this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go to our surface editor, go to brick wall, and our brick. Under color, I'm going to hit the T, and I'm going to go image, load image. I'm going to bring in a little stone texture here. I'll automatic size that. Hit use. And that's okay. And maybe go to the image editor and just make this maybe a little bit higher contrast and not so much brightness. Make it look like stone, or like brick, sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and reassign some surface to our bullet and call it bullet. And go ahead and make it just an off-white. turn smoothing on, and maybe pop the spec up, hit OK. And I'll be back in layout. And under our bullet, I'm going to go ahead and hit T, load an image. Oops, no, not the stolen one. We're going to load image. And I have some great, let's go, there it is, environment.jpg, nice little reflection map. And let's go to environment, because we're not doing anything crazy right now. I'm just going to make it ray trace and use the spherical map image. So let's just go ahead and give that a reflection and some spec. And I'm going to load up in the environment. So let's just give that luminosity. Sorry guys, quick little texturing thing there, just to get some objects looking like what they actually are. And that should be pretty good. Of course, this isn't anywhere near realistic looking, but we can just scrub over here to the you can see something's falling through our ground plane. So if I go back to our world options, under ground plane, I'm going to make this a box. See what happens. There you go. And I'm going to make this have almost no bounce. And for our friction, I'll make it have 60. And a collision margin, let's just slam that down to 0. And our activation is going to be start active. And let's go back to the perspective view and hit D for display options and fix near clipping. And let's go back to 6 for our camera. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. I'm going to go ahead and go to our last frame. Move our camera by hitting T and move on the mouse pad. Hit Y to rotate and hit T again to move. And now we have a little camera. Push our movement, and that's what you want right there. And again, you gotta play with these bullet dynamics. You can even get a more realistic effect of an impact by really going through those bullet dynamics. Again, I'm on a laptop right now, and it's gonna take a long time to achieve greatness, because every time I tweak something I have to wait about 10-15 seconds to get the simulation dynamics settled. But I mean, you're going to be able to really get this to work for you, I know it. And let's see what this gives us as far as a somewhat decent render. You know what, that doesn't look too bad actually. This is basically what happened. Again, bullet dynamics takes in the speed of the ball, the weight of balls, the keyframes between keyframes of how fast this ball's traveling. That's why this brick is doing this, and that's why this brick is doing that. You change one thing, and the whole dynamics changes. It's a complete physics system. It's absolutely fantastic. And I want to show you guys how easy it is to achieve another really cool thing. So I'm back in perspective view. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C to duplicate this object, and I'm going to go ahead and put this behind that. And this is how easy it is in bullet dynamics to have another object in your scene. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C again, and I'm going to raise this one. And you want, once you're in bullet dynamics, to uncheck enable dynamics so you can actually move your objects around. And I'm going to go hit Y to rotate this. And I'm just going to settle this right on top of our two walls. And let's see what that gives us. You know what? Okay, I'm going to get rid of this one. So let's just go right through this. Our dynamics are not on right now. And let's move this wall right maybe a little bit more up. And let's go back to the camera view by pressing 6. And now let's enable our dynamics and see what this gives us. I'm going to shuttle over one frame so I can calculate it. And let's see. Okay. Great. Okay, I mean, both walls got shattered down. What I would do with this is under camera options, Shift C, to really sell the effect, I use motion blur. Go to photo reel and let's do a blur length of, I don't know, I'd say 40 and maybe 3 passes. And this really sells the effects, especially if you're compositing over a camera shot. And as you can see, this render is going to take a little bit more time, but once it adds that motion blur on top, especially if you're shooting or if you're trying to sell this effect on a brick wall in your actual video. So let's go ahead and see how this looks with motion blur. It's doing the motion blur passes right now. Another radiosity solution pass. Okay, I mean, there you go. You start seeing some of the movement of the bricks and the movement of the ball. It's really representing motion. And if you're going to do any kind of demolition or impact of objects, I really recommend you use motion blur. It takes a lot of time in your renders, but it really sells your effects. You really want to do that. And let's go back here. Maybe at this point in time, I'll move the camera slower so we can really see what's happening here. Like right there. And let's go ahead and hit render. And let that go for another 2 minutes. And there we go. I mean, that looks beautiful inside there. You got some nice dynamics. You got the impact of the ball hitting these bricks. Of course, this is not graphically appealing. I'm just using, I mean, basically OpenGL, like OpenGL as like a graphic look. So, I mean, that looks great. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys use this in your next physics system. Bricks are really fun to use with and or to do stuff with and animate with. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I've helped you. Thanks a lot.